Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some Toonkind at 12 frames per second. My name is Whis, and this is day 6 of Korvits week. And joining me on this most wonderful day, I have the splendid, the hilarious, the talented, and my bestie.
I was braced, and yet I was still overwhelmed. You menace. You menace.
Yes. Shut. I cannot spell to save myself, apparently. It's fine.
And I love you. Anyway, hi everyone! While I derail with my shenanigans, tis I, the Vwild, here again. And for the Korvits' Pumpkin Week, I hold up the jack-o'-lantern monkey. At your service.
So, we do not have any timeline shenanigans happening with this particular FPS. It is, in the order of the things that has been happening lately. There's been a lot happening. I worked it out that because of time zones and the fact that we had an extended period of the Knocking on Death's Door game on both the 30th and the 31st of December where I live, I have actually had at least an hour or more of playing Korvits for the last, this makes the 8th day.
Oh, no, shit.
However, I'm not counting it as two separate instances in Pumpkin Week, and there was a day's gap for New Year's Eve. But anyway, I just thought that was a fun fact.
You wild ass soul.
I'm having a fun time.
I know this and I love you.
So after the events of Knocking on Death's Door, and most pointedly the Happy Holidays FPS, where Korvits brought Paz home. Mm-hmm. It's probably been maybe a week at most. Enough time to kind of chat with Asclepius, to go out and about in the town a little bit, meet Gregory, meet Hugh, still doing his normal stuff as much as he can. Korvits didn't need to sleep before so much, and has been dragging it out a bit. And he did have a nap at the end of the Happy Holidays FPS, but that was how do I put it? An exhaustion nap. He and Paz both were buggered, and all of the relief of finally being home, finally being safe, finally being together, and they both just conked the fuck out. And when you're conking the fuck out in that manner, you don't often have many dreams. It's just nothing. But Korvits has been awake since waking up from that exhaustion nap, doing all these things that he's been doing until tonight. And we're going to zoom in on Lynn instead of on Korvits to start with. And how's Lynn at the moment? What's she up to in this fine evening? It's probably about 11 o'clock at night.
That in mind, honestly, seeing as it's been like 3 weeks since Knocking at Death's Door, she's doing better. Because post everything, she did have to come home, take the pin out, and then let Network take the wheel for a bit, because did everything happen a lot back then. It's the reason why Aeon put that pin in was, hey, I need the monkey. The monkey can't take a 5-day rest. I need them now. So she's doing well, honestly. She's making her plans. She's sorting everything out that she needs to over time. She's spending time with her family. And so I think at this 11 p.m, it's probably one of the times when she's getting ready for bed, because nowadays Lynn actually has a healthy sleeping schedule. It's
good on her.
she's trying. Yes, chronic pain is a beep. Yes, her anxiety sometimes gets the best of her and the apophenia runs, so she's in bed, but it's like, please, just let me sleep. I don't need to make a case board right now. Let me sleep.
She has strategies for that too.
And I mean, I actually think that Craigery being her partner and coming to bed with her is probably really helpful because it's like, no, I can't spend all night doing this because I got to go to sleep with my partner. He'll get lonely.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I live that.
So, mhm. So I think with 11 p.m., she's probably getting ready for bed, like got pajamas on and everything, is just brewing like the final tea of the night and just having a hummed conversation with Network of, I have read you 3 bedtime stories. You can bother I for the 4th.
All right. Go ahead and roll me a perception.
Mm-hmm. You got it, boss. That is a... what's your perception modifier again? Oh, yes, stupid high. 30.
30. Excellent. Excellent. I love it when player characters have skills modifiers to rival Korvitz's. That makes me happy. All right. So you're getting ready for bed. You're having this conversation with Network, and you are used to there being sort of feedback, I suppose, in the bonds in your heart. You've got Network, you've got Rye, you've got Korvits. And Network and Rye feel as strong and happy as ever, but there's this odd feeling that kind of comes over where Korvits' bond is on the other side of your heart. It's not flickering in the way that Network's bond stutters when she's in distress. It's not thinning or cracking or breaking. It's none of those things, and nothing like just before you all needed to go and rescue Paz when Korvits' divinity was taken. It's a feeling
and of
of...
course, the feeling is over the bond. Can't forget that.
Can't forget
Massive
that.
memories and then yoink.
Yeah. If anything, it's closer to that. It's a feeling that comes over it. It's not as powerful as that kind of grief, but it's noticeable, especially with that 30. It's distinctly noticeable, and it kind of just feels like a cold, not quite dread, but related to dread, just sort of sitting there in between your ribs.
Okay, that's... Right. Sweetheart, I've got an errand I think I need to run. Okay? I'll be back a little later. And she hums something a little more to Network, instructions for what to do for the night. And then she just very calmly puts down her tea. And she grabs probably the candle that she was using for, the bedtime light. Grabs her cane and then just goes, yep, we're just going to take a quick trip outside.
All right. And you head out, and Halloween Town is its normal 11 p.m. vibe. So it's not really there's no one around because this is Halloween Town. We've got nocturnal and crepuscular people everywhere. But there's no distinct changes to the vibe of the town. What do you do?
Lynn, knowing Korvits and knowing everything that's happened, if there's nothing immediately distressing in town, then that means there's nothing immediately on high alert of holy shit, we need to deal with it as a group. She's gonna make a circuit. Just the quick checks of places that she knows he'd frequent. So probably Manor or Pumpkin Patch. Manor or Pumpkin Patch. Manor. Manor first. Pop my head in, see if there's anything up there. Poke around other places after that.
Alright. So you make your way through the streets towards Macabre Manor. And it's in your view, but still somewhat in the distance, when you're able to... I'm not going to make you roll again. That was a 30. When you're able to spot some unusual movement. On one of the upper floors, the window seems to have been thrown open, and a vaguely orange glowing shape, quite a large shape, springs out of the window and flies off into the night, with sparks and flicks of red hot fire coming off of them. And you also don't need to look particularly hard to be able to tell that is not the flight of a creature in good form. It's falling partially through the air in between uneven beats of wings, and the lift is enough to keep it up over the buildings and other features of Halloween Town, but not hugely. It's not right. It's not confident. It's not strong. And you can see it flying away towards the far end of the pumpkin patch, towards some ruins that Korvits has shown you before.
Oh, boy. Oh, Korvits. Bless you. And she kind of rubs her chest for a moment, just like with her cane hand, and then she's embarking on, just changes course immediately. This idea of potentially understanding dread as she changes course to go in that direction.
Alright. You make your way down towards that part of the pumpkin patch, towards the ruined and burned windmill. And it gets a lot easier to see the closer to those ruins you get, because you can see that Korvits has flopped down to the ground in the centre of that windmill. And there is essentially a bonfire lit in the middle. Red and orange and yellow flames licking up towards the night sky.
Oh, boy. I think at first she stops a bit away, just out of the normal range of people's perception. Just keeps a bit out of sight and just watches that bonfire. She's gonna see if she can try and pick up any noise first, over the crackle of fire.
Sure.
Alright. Let's see how we do. That is, not as good as, 30, but pretty decent. 26.
Perfect. Alright, so you stop a short distance away and you can see in the shape of this fire, you can see that Korvits is still flopped in the ground. He's a dark silhouette in the light of the fire. And ever so faintly over the crackle of those flames that are licking off his feathers and off his clothes, it almost sounds like crying.
Lynn honestly anticipated something like this happening eventually, with what Korvits has been through. Doesn't make it any easier to watch it happen now. What she does is she stays far enough out of range for a bit because these emotions are something that he needs to at first get out. It's having that time, having that space to first process this is important. Once the fires have died down a little, then she'll start coming in.
It does take a few minutes before the fires stop being quite so hot. Because it is quite hot. The few pieces of plants around the ruins, some of the pumpkins and a few bushes, are smouldering, even if they're not even that close. But it does take a long time for the fire to kind of calm down enough for you to be able to really approach. But they don't go out. It kind of just recedes into a bit of a smolder, and particularly as Korvits' wings flop down to the ground, rather than staying in wing form, they return to his sort of scarf, half cape form.
And I think what she does, because privacy is important, understanding these things is important, but also making yourself known is very, very useful, especially as she doesn't particularly want to startle someone who has been through the emotional ringer, especially with what she thinks is happening, because that's how you get, a fireball to the face. So, what she does is she kind of pauses for one final moment, and she's kind of been shielding the candlelight with her own hand as this has been happening. But then she does move forward and she makes sure to scuff her feet as she's going, as though she's being careful. And there is her cane tapping against the ground, even her tail slightly brushing as well. As she just slowly and carefully comes forward.
I'm going to roll him a perception now. At this. Okay. Alrighty. That makes sense. Your perception is still stupidly high, though, sir. Alright. So, I think Lynn probably gets fairly close before he perks up, having heard her over the crackle of his own fire. He's lying in the center part of the windmill, and the ruined floorboards are being scorched anew. And he sits up abruptly and starts looking around for you. And when he spots you, he's... Do you want to roll an insight, actually?
Yes, I do.
And you can do it with advantage.
I'm almost tempted to throw the guidance on there. That's gonna be a... That is an 8, so... 24.
Perfect. All right. So you've seen Korvits have very many different sorts of expressions. You've seen him absolutely delighted. You've seen him furious. You've seen him heartbroken. This is closer to the heartbroken expression when Gibbs died. But it's less shock and heartbreak. It's that sort of surprised to see you, but also slow, agonizing heartache rather than desperate reaction to something that's just happened. He has steam licking off his cheeks. His mouth is downturned, and it's almost dim. His eyelights and his mouth are quite dim compared to the fire that's licking off of his body. He sort of stares at you, and the fire dims a little bit more. And then he sort of leans back and looks away, like he doesn't really know what to do. And you've never known Korvits to be at loss for words often. But he doesn't say anything.
And she kind of takes that in. And her expression is a very calm one. He's looked away, but it is a very, very calm face. As she's just taking him in. And I don't think she says anything, not at first. But there is a very soft simian chirp from her. And then she doesn't come all the way to him. But there's probably one of those pumpkins or a little outcrop of the ruined windmill. And she's gonna come in closer and kind of circle and then just sit against it instead. Just very calm and quiet.
He'll glance up at her as she approaches, and still not having any particular words, and she didn't say anything to prompt anything. He sits back. He had been more on his hands and knees, but now he sort of leans back and sits onto his rear and slowly tries to smother out the flames that are still licking through his sleeves and the rest of his outfit. He's fully dressed apart from his boots. He's still wearing his coat, his new shirt, and the shirt itself it's definitely got burns all through the sleeves of the linen, and you can see parts of his ribs through the front of the shirt. The coat itself seems actually a lot more intact than most of everything else he's wearing. But he's slowly trying to smother out the flames a bit, and you can see him making movements with his hands to try and pull the fire back down so it could go out.
Lynn, what vibes are you giving me right now? She continues watching, but it isn't a openly staring sort of thing. What she does instead is she does take him in. But then instead of looking at him directly as he's doing all this, she too turns away slightly. It's kind of that silent companionship when you know someone is nearby, but they're not directly staring at you. They're taking in everything and kind of aware of what you are doing at all times, but not accusatory. Not taking it all in as though it's fit for inspection, as though it's fit for comment. Just takes it in.
Mm-hmm. He does after a few minutes, manage to get the flames under control. And it's not quite a sizzle as if you'd put water on a flame, but there is that kind of hiss that some materials make when they have been on fire and the fire has now gone out as the last bits of water in the wood or what have you escapes. And now he's just sitting there with his legs crossed under him, and he holds onto his legs and looks away, burnt and sizzling ever so slightly, smouldering and very, very dim. Like the orange glow that he has just naturally these days is almost imperceivable. Like the fact that Lynn has dark vision is probably the only reason why she can still see that glow. And his mouth is such a thin line you can hardly see it, and his eyes are quite dim and he's looking away. And Lynn can see that he keeps glancing up at her and looking like he wants to say something, maybe, but then changes his mind and looks away again. She's never seen him look this awkward. It's different to a light-hearted embarrassed. It's full-blown embarrassed and awkward and really quite young in a way. Like she's teased him about being an old man of lived 200 years, but he doesn't have the same vibe to him that, say, Jacques, who has lived for the same amount of time, has about him.
I mean, he didn't get to live all those years. He didn't get to experience all of them. And if she tallies up her knowledge, by years he's been aware and not in that state. In some ways, you may even call him younger than her with experience, but these things are complicated for Toons. She does take it in just a moment more as she tries to figure out which tack to take, which angle to go with. Then decides it's best to try and find a way to get him to talk. And so she does just slightly lean and focuses on the candle in her own hands for a moment as she's putting it to one side, then just goes, "Gold piece for your thoughts?"
It's kind of too many to really start.
He sounds tired too, Lynn. Like, he looks tired, but he sounds exhausted.
She's lived this. So the mind can run in many different ways. Try grabbing one thought, any thought, just let them come out.
Well,
Oh, voice mod not on.
thank you, appreciate that.
I love you too.
It's how about we start with a positive thought? I go down with the manor before I set the place on fire.
That's a good one. You did good on that front. And you made it here. Right? And now there's you and me here.
I hoped to get further out. I didn't want to risk a car, but I couldn't go any further.
Well, you found yourself in the right place. Okay. Perhaps this is right where you needed to be.
Maybe. I don't know. Sorry, did I wake you up or?
No. No, I've got a habit of being right where I need to be when the time's right.
You're a protagonist. You're good at that.
Hey. And I'm also a friend.
It's nothing really in the scheme of things. It's just bad dreams. Really bad dreams, but nothing more than that.
Roll me an insight if you like.
Alrighty. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, your insight modifier is fucking insane, but, you know, a 3 on the dice makes a whole lot of sense. It's not really even that much point rolling, it's a disadvantage. Good grief. Fucking hell, Korvits.
Alright. You
know what? He's emotionally compromised. Halve that. Fuck it. Even if we halve it, that's still going to be like a 15.
Yeah.
But like still.
Yeah. A 15 does not beat her deception modifier by any degree.
Yeah.
There is, in Lynn's eyes as she's looking, there is a quiet patience that is beyond her years. But there is also, there's no pity, but there is sympathy. And there is understanding as she's looking at you. And she does tilt her head slightly to one side as she's just looking. And you can see the lines at the corners of her eyes just crinkle slightly. She just goes, bad dreams aren't nothing. However, they are complicated things, especially with the lives that we lead. And I have found that they have a way of clinging, especially when they draw on things that we fear, or we have experienced, or both. And I have found that talking about them can be quite good for letting the moonlight pierce through them.
The topic of such, I wouldn't. You of all people would understand, but the thought of it, I don't want to put it into your imagination, not even remotely.
I'm gonna be dead honest, Korvits. This mind ticks over enough things that it can probably recreate it in a few ways. Let me in. I won't force it, but I am here and I am open. Let me take some of this burden, okay?
If you're gonna insist, aren't you?
I'm offering.
Do you want to insight him?
Yep. Do 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 do. Da 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 da. I am adding the guidance this time because I love guidance. That's A4.
26, okay. He has this vibe about him that he'll talk to you if you were going to press. Lynn definitely gets that vibe from him. And you also get the vibe that whatever has triggered all of this, he doesn't want to be alone. He's not made any moves to kind of get away from you. And even though he's distinctly fled away from where Paz and Jacques are, that seems to be entirely so that the fire isn't an issue. But he doesn't seem to be wanting to be alone. And in fact, he wants to be closer to you, but he's kind of seems unable to move, really, at the moment.
With that in mind, I think, after she's made these offers, it's... At first she was just sitting, not quite straight backed, but in the relaxed sit where you are sitting upright. But as they'd gone on talking, she had leaned forward. And now she does... She's not too far away from him. Probably a wing length away when she came to sit. But I think she does very, very slowly, clearly telegraphing a movement. Get up. Just leaning on her cane slightly and just does take a step forward. Just seeing how he reacts to that first.
He is watching her, and as she gets a little closer, she can see him sort of lean towards her in response, not away.
She takes that and she's gonna come forward further. And I think when she gets close enough, she extends an arm in the traditional "I would like a hug" gesture.
The movement that he makes is not a snatching sort of movement. It's clumsy compared to how she's seen him move before, but it's not slow either. It's this distinct yes, yes, hug now. And he moves her into his lap, and then he just sort of thunks his head forward into the back of her head, and she can feel him shaking and shuddering a little bit in his breathing, but at least compared to the last time he held her, he doesn't feel cold.
And she does actually take a moment. She is distinctly not going to force him to speak. and instead she is providing as much comfort as possible. And as he just thunks into her, he can actually feel her fur fluff, but not in a way of I'm surprised, more in a way of I'm relaxed, I'm safe. And she just kind of leans up into him, her tail coming up to curl around one of his arms, and she just presses herself there. Just not quite purring, but making this soft, simian, chittering purr in her chest.
Do you want to roll a perception really quick?
Yes, I do. That is not your highest roll, but still decent. 24.
Perfect. So as Lynn is taking Korvits in, she notices two things with that 24. The first one would actually almost be kind of familiar, as he's got his arms wrapped around her. His right hand, his bone hand, is the one that's pressed against her, and his left hand is distinctly on his own arm. Is a deliberate own arm contact rather than having it anywhere near her, and he's almost leaning his fingers as far away from her as he can make them, while still holding her this way. Similarly to how Lynn used to keep her own claws away from Rye and from other people who were in contact with her way back then.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that she notices is more obvious than the first. He has his forehead thunked into the back of her head, and there's a hiss of steam as he starts to cry again.
She's gonna address the hand later, because it is something that is going to need to be addressed. And several times, probably. She is glad that it wasn't first introduction in that hug, because she would have flinched, and she knows how bad that would have been. But she continues that purring for as long as she can, and then she switches to humming. Just old lullabies, honestly. Ones that her uncle used to do for her when she was having nightmares.
I am going to roll maybe just a straight whiz. See how he does. That's not too bad at all, actually. All right. What's your normal whiz? All right. So that makes it a 25. Okay, so it doesn't take too long for the sobbing to sort of slow and stop. And she can hear him listening to her singing and her humming. And as one song finishes and before she can start another.
I recognize that one.
Oh?
Yeah. I think that one's era old. Definitely think I know that one.
It's a good one. Certainly one of my favorites.
I've never really been much for lullabies myself. Not that I don't like them. I might be a bard, but I sure as hell ain't a singer. He used to tell kids stories until they passed out. It wasn't really the kind to sing kids to sleep. Didn't usually work, but I did know a few.
They can be good ones for peace. And every voice has a place where it belongs. Every voice fits.
Suppose so.
And she kind of leans from where she is, and she is headbutting him just where he's against her. She does just, the cat gesture of tilting the head, just the headbutt like that.
Mm-hmm.
She does just do that.
He'll look down at her, and his eyelights and his mouth light are still quite dim. And if anything, now that she's sort of helped him come down a bit, he looks even more tired than before.
You really reckon there's merit in me talking about my bad dreams?
Aye. I've found that it can help.
I thought that when I woke up that first time, after coming back, that losing cars bond was the worst thing I possibly could experience. But it's, well, I know what it'll feel like when you and Paz and Sally eventually pass on. And it was too sudden. It was too... all of your lights went out at once. Yours and Sally's, Paz and Kentla's. Just went out. Hardly any little flicks of steam, just cold, empty ribcage. And I panicked. Not quite sure at which point I woke up because I was still panicking when I woke up. But I managed to get out the window, so you're still here. you're all still here, but I can't live through that.
I, I know that feeling. I understand that. And I am sorry, not because I am apologizing for something on my part, but I am sorry that you have had to experience this. You deserved kinder than all this.
I need this. I'm never gonna get Cora back, and I have to live with that. And if I lose the rest of you too, I don't think there will be any part of me left. I need it.
I know. I know. That warmth. Those connections. These bonds that hold you together. This love. I get it.
What am I gonna do? I can't. I don't want to feel that again.
There is no easy answer. For all I am knowledgeable, I do not know all that happens with bonds and souls after. But what I do know is the instance of everything that occurred were very exceptional circumstances. And from what I am aware of my own bonds, even when perhaps we pass on, I don't think we'll completely lose you. We'll still be with you.
I hope so. I mean, he can still feel Kindless. And
Aye.
he's not here, he's gone. It's the only one of the four of you I can't figure out where he is. Where is with Paz and you? And I don't think I even told you about Sally, but I can tell where you are.
A mighty good boon.
Sure made finding Paz a lot easier in the middle of the damn ocean, and then
Aye. And it's here. We all are, and we're all with you.
something that Lynn would notice as Korvits is talking, if she turns to look at his face, he has tears running down his cheeks. He's crying too much for his own ambient temperature to actually flash evaporate his tears at the moment. They are evaporating, but quite a lot of them are getting to the bottom of his chin before they do.
And she had turned to look, especially so she could meet his eyes. And there is compassion there.
It's weird, you know, and I just started to feel like maybe I could do this God thing, and then felt so powerless. I don't think I've ever felt as powerless as all that, even though my fire magic was not something I was born with. I never felt like that. There was some part of me missing. And it didn't hurt, I guess, but the flame had gone out. And it's dark and cold without it. And then to lose all of you all at once, fuck. And you know, if Erasure decided to be a complete asshole, then maybe I would lose you all at once, but
You're not going to lose us. Okay. A void is a very daunting thing. Cold where we have known warmth. The absence is an experience we never wish to repeat, and the feeling of powerlessness. When we finally get our feet under us, when we finally think everything's going alright, curveballs are thrown at us, and it shakes us to our core. The hardest thing, to get up again after each knock. To know we can be knocked down. To know these things can occur.
I suppose that's the life of a protagonist, right? Not that, well, I don't think I'm a protagonist, am I?
I'm not entirely sure. But it is also just a part of life. Hard knocks, surprise grief, surprise revelations. Life is a very messy thing. And the ideas of love and connections and bonds. Love is vulnerability in most ways.
Yeah. Talking about revelations, I think the thing that at the time everything was all compounding all at once, but a bit that hurt the most was when Gibbs disappeared. When that bond extinguished. That was the bit that hurt the most. I thought that having such a big part of who I am, what I am, it was taken away, and I felt frankly quite unable to protect the bonds I still had left. That bond breaking, it hurt, when it hurt more than when he ripped my magic straight from out of my heart. Losing that bond. When I lost Kara, I suppose whatever was going on with the rest of me at the time, I didn't feel it. But I felt losing Gibbs. And even though the feeling's gone and has this bond is stronger than ever, oh man, did I still feel it break. And it wasn't like shattering of glass, it was tearing fabric. It hurt. Right down to my very core. He could have broken all the bones in my body and it still would have hurt less than that.
There is something uniquely painful about always trying, but never quite being enough. The unique pain of trying to defend a being that you love and not being able to. It is uncalculatable, undefinable.
I'm not sure I like how, speaking from experience, that sounded.
Old words. Old words indeed. There's for a bard, I still struggle with my words sometimes, but the one thing I have learned are the ideas of hope and defiance. Because at the end of the day, you felt that pain, and now you carry the scars of that, the memories of that. But you still go back up. And we carry on. And we keep trying. We keep working. Because we know that pain. And there will be good. There will be kindness and there will be softness. But both it and you deserved a lot softer than that break.
In a way, I suppose. It probably has very similar to whatever happened to me. Everything happening to every aspect of yourself, and the bond didn't really stand out. At least I really fucking hope so. This isn't a pain that I would wish on anyone.
Then you are a kind being. And that.
When they're there, these bonds are so warm, and if anything, make me feel more powerful. And I don't even think that that's just because I'm a god, you know? But when they break, I don't really think I got words for how it felt. Not really.
No. No. You have lost a great deal over your life, Korvits all Hallow. You have been wrapped in things, and displaced, and bonds have been lost and been changed. And all these experiences are harrowing. You have been through a great deal in a short period of time. Bonds are warmth and burning. We hold out our hands to them, and that love can burn. in many different ways. The losing of it, the changing, in many different aspects and ways. I can't say it ever gets easier, but these times of hardship will soften. These burns will soothe.
Asclepius said very much the same thing.
Oh. He knows
Smart
a great
ass.
Yeah, wise and smart ass go hand in hand.
Suppose so. I do well to listen to my elders or some bullshit.
Aye.
Well, I don't have a leg to stand on anymore with that. Jax used to give me a hard time, but, each camp is a bit bigger now than it ever used to be.
Ages with tunes are pickin' weird.
Yeah, I suppose, but if you just go by a literal number of days, yeah, he's always been older than me. Though, I think that he was designed a little younger. He always looked up to me, and now I'm sitting here feeling lost. Asclepius called me baby the other day, and well, I suppose he's right.
Then, sounds to me like you need to gain some experiences. Good ones.
That was already on the to-do list, but that sure was a blip I wasn't expecting.
Aye.
Man, then this is bullshit. How am I supposed to be some sort of immortal god or whatever in 3 weeks is as far as I can view. I can't. This is as long as I can manage without such normal person need for sleep and stuff. It'd be fine if my brain wasn't being an asshole to me when I did sleep, but
Something tells me that brains being assholes is something that happens to the divine and the mortal. And it's all complicated. It always is when you're getting your feet under you. When you come into a new position, everything goes up shit's creek at least twice a week. So you're doing pretty great on that front.
it's not a creek. Sometimes it's a straight up waterfall. We're trying to paddle right at a right degree angle.
Hey, we're trying to paddle and there's piranhas on the oars. It's a fucking nightmare.
Oh, that'd increase drag. Why the fuck am I in a boat? I hate water. Oh, jeez.
We can put the boat on lava. Lava piranhas.
I don't know if I'm lava proof, even if I am fireproof. That seems a little more molten rock I genuinely don't know, and I am in no hurry to find out.
True, true. Tell you what, we'll get the fountain, and we'll tilt it sideways. And then I'll get the fire button going, and then we'll get a boat. I'm thinking a boat made out of stone. And then I'll find out how to get those fire piranhas. It's very important that we find out how to get those fire piranhas, and then we're going to put them in the fire. And I'll get the schematics for it. I'll draft it all out. I can build contingencies. I will find a way to make fire piranhas. Then we can do anything.
I think you might be over engineering this analogy.
It is a genius plan. It is a truly genius plan. No one has stopped me yet, so clearly it is a totally foolproof genius plan of a bona fide brilliance.
Yeah, bona fide brilliance is right. That's for sure. But maybe don't go putting the fountain sideways. That is kind of anchored to the ground.
I hate to say it, but you cut out there.
Discord, please.
Don't go turning the fountain on its side. It's anchored to the ground.
Yes, that does put a spanner in the works. Well, where there's a will, there's a way, and there's a monkey on a mission. But we'll pencil that in for another point.
Sounds like it'd be a lot easier just to go down into the valley. I think they've got lava down there.
Ooh. We can make that work. We can make that work.
Though, an expedition of that magnitude seems, wholly unnecessary for the sake of, bringing an analogy to life.
You're right. The magnitude of that situation.
Magnitude.
See, I got it. I still got it. I may not have studied that subject well, but I do know a few things about the puns.
Oh dear, you're an excellent bard. Yeah, it doesn't have to be eloquent in order to be, well, what it needs to be.
Exactly. Being what I need to be. I try. I do it every day. It's hard. Complicated. Feckin' messy. and the nightmares do creep in. Even in the good times. Even when making light an analogy. But we pull through. And we keep stepping forward. And we keep loving.
Yeah. Yeah. I might... No matter how much that hurt, no matter how much that hurt, I still don't regret having these bonds at all. I would much rather have something that I don't want to feel that feeling again. I can't. let it happen again. Not to me, and you know what? I know that the situation is not unique to me because I know that Jacques has my old bond with Kara, and I know that you've got your bond with Network. This is not a unique thing to me. And fuck it. If I can't do anything else, I'm gonna figure out a way to help protect those bonds from breaking like that. For my sake, for your sake, and for Jacques' sake, and fuck for anyone else who's got bonds like this. I can't let that hurt cut anyone that deep ever again. Soon as I figure out how the fuck to do that, but damn if I'm not gonna try.
An admirable goal. And one I will try and help support.
Yeah. I'll figure it out. I got all the time in the world.
Aye. That you have.
I'll do it. If I'm gonna be stubborn about anything, I'll be stubborn about this.
Honestly, I fully believe in it. You have my faith in that.
Do you want to roll an insight?
Mm-hmm. That is a... I think that's the same as earlier. 26.
Excellent. All right. So, as you say that, I've got faith in that. You can actually see Korvits brighten a bit. It's not, excuse me, it's not brightening as in his demeanor is brightening or his mood is brightening. It's a literal visual lighting brightening, as if you declaring that has revitalized him a little bit. And you're not entirely sure that he's noticed, quite frankly. But yeah, his eyes and his mouth are glowing that little bit brighter, and his slight ambient orange glow is just a smidge more visible.
Lynn is internally incredibly pleased that that idea of hers worked. Because yes, that was planned.
Of course it was.
Contingencies, mother peckers. But she does just beam up at him. Completely soft and warm. And she does shift in the hold, and I will say her tail does actually move from where it had been around his arm to around his new hand as she's moving.
I am going to let you use that 26 on insight. He twitches as she does that, and it seems as though he almost seems to lean his hand away from her tail some more, even though he can't really... He's not going to yank it out of her grip. He is deliberately trying to keep it away from her.
She stops a moment. And then she keeps herself in his lap, but she does turn so that she's a bit more on show, so that she can meet his eye a little better. And then she does turn and with her good hand just very gently place it against his hand.
She can feel him stiffen a little.
I know you won't hurt me. This is a part of you, Korvits. And I have faith in every part of you.
Well, I don't yet. I don't. It's too sharp. It's too high risk. I've talked to the Lycans and they've had some great ideas, and here I can manage, and I just don't want to risk it. Not yet. It's too new.
And that's okay. New can be scary, and so can new factors of a redesign, including ones that surprise us. But I know you. And take all the time you need, but these claws aren't meant for harming those you love. They are meant for protecting. Like cats have their claws and ravens have their talons. You have these. Protect those that you love.
You think that's why I've got them now? And needed to be sharper or something?
Redesigns have a funny way of going about things. But maybe you wanted a way to protect your bonds, to fight back against these situations, to hold better. Maybe this was part of it.
Maybe. Yeah.
But
Am largely the same. The duds are different. And with my gloves basically having disappeared off the face of the story, well, all my burns are on display now. But, I don't know, it's weird. It feels different, but also it doesn't. As if I'd wandered out of the pumpkin patch the first time like this. But I know why you didn't.
Discord, please.
I am going to scream. Why?
And we got to pumpkin patch.
Oh, okay. The sentence after that was, but I know I didn't.
Mm-hmm. New skin. But it's still you.
Yeah. God damn it. I'm fine. Come on.
Someone's a little sleepy.
Hey, look, it's been 3 weeks. You know, I did my best.
I can't remember what my streak was back in the day. I know it got impressive. Definitely stayed awake for... I think I stayed awake for a week once. You start... Have you started having the hallucinations yet? Don't look at the Hat Man. The Hat Man is not your friend.
The what?
Oh,
No!
so you haven't had the Hat Man yet. Okay. Let me know when you do, okay?
I, should I be worried? When should I be concerned about this? Either for your sake or for mine?
You'll figure it out. That or the tap dancing squirrel. That was a unique one. That might have actually been related to the case, though. I'm not entirely sure. It was a hell of a case.
I get the impression that a lot of the things that you work on are like that. Sometimes they just don't make sense at all.
No. But there are ways that we can work with that. Helping things make sense. And helping banish things that harm us. The past is in the past. And we look towards the future and stay in the present. And
Yeah.
good sleep. Good sleep is a part of that.
The past doesn't seem that long ago to me. Even though a lot of time has passed between now and then.
Sometimes it lurks right over your shoulder.
Yeah, I suppose. I've been meaning to come and talk to you, but, I had a conversation with, Hugh the other day. And I think the kid slipped things he probably wasn't meant to.
Okay. That's got a range of context to it, so lay it on me.
This, big war plotline that you're in. You never told me who you were up against. Deliberately, is what I gathered.
Aye.
One who hurt Gibbs. Hurt Hugh. The thrall. Right?
Aye.
I told you I would stay out of this for your sake, for all of you, so that I didn't make the plotline more complicated, and I will stand by that. But the thrall was someone who I had heard of from my time, from before. This behavior, this aggression, wasn't like that. They weren't like that then. I didn't know them, because I had no need for the kind of back alley services that such an individual would provide. But I don't know if it would help you any. But they're different.
That they are. Times have changed, and so have they as roles have shifted. As this has come into play and place.
I don't bring it up to try and make a point or make things more complicated or anything like that. But I wanted you to know that I have been told who you're fighting. If you change your mind, if you want me to intervene at any point, you just say the word. But until I get that green light from you or from Jacques, I'll keep my nose out of it. Like I said I would. But
Thank you.
just be safe, okay? Then promise me. I wouldn't normally ask, but you can do your best, right?
I will do everything within my power to be as safe as possible and to come home.
And he leans down and he basically curls his entire self around you. He's very closely hugging you.
Hey, thank you. I know I can't do more, but wish I could.
You are doing more than enough for us all, Howell. It might not feel it, but you being here and certain things that have been put in place, you have done heckin' fantastic. More than you know.
I am going to roll him a con. Not a save, just a con. And my dice tower is going to freeze up. There we go. Yeah. That's fucking exactly what I thought, Korvits. Oh my fucking god. Yep. Precisely what I thought.
What did he get? What did he get? Nat one!
That is a natural 1. Even if I had rolled that as a con save, it's still a nat 1. Because I did it as just a check rather than a save. That makes it a grand total of 2. Lynn can feel him shaking a little bit, and a few more hisses of steam that lick off his cheeks as he starts to maybe think about crying again. But then there's this pause, and he kind of slumps a little bit. And then there's this soft fire crackle noise from somewhere in his chest. And he's fallen asleep, curled around you, sitting up.
Oh, bless your heart. And you know, the most hilarious thing is I was going to have him roll an insight, but he has fallen asleep. And Lynn stays there in that hold for quite a bit. She just has her eyes closed, just listening to that noise. And then she's going to very carefully pull something from her hammer space. And that was a 9. Yippee, we are not fumbling.
Nice.
And I'm going to roll her a sleight of hand to pop this on him. Because the dice know what the dice want. That was a... What's Korvits' passive? Just out of curiosity.
His passive is 21.
Oh, good. This beats that. This beats that by a lot. Yippee.
Excellent.
She takes out a... I guess the best way of putting it would be a bracelet that she's braided of a specific fabric. And she'd been planning on perhaps giving it to him when awake, but this works. And just... she gently fixes it around his new hand, the wrist, so that he'll be able to touch it with his bone hand. Just a little bit of the past, woven with love of the present.
Aww.
And she is absolutely not going to get back to network in this state. So, you know what? Pick it. She's warm. She's cozy. She's going to find a way to gently, put her aching joints against the bonfire that is the pumpkin.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Nap time.
Mm-hmm.
And
she'll...
yeah. Well, Korvits will stay asleep though. He's buggered. That was a nat 1.
Yeah. I think she stays awake. She almost wants to say something, but Kara might hear it, so nah. But she just rests there and watches him and makes sure that her friend, her god, her friend, gets a good sleep like he deserves.
I suppose we leave them there.
Bless them, Your Honor.
Nightmares suck.
Nightmares suck. She is going to be gently nudging him towards therapy and also investing in a nightlight for him. One of those nice scented ones so it helps Paz out as well.
Aw, that'd be nice. I think they'd like that.
This monkey has connections. This monkey will sneak it into their bedroom.
Oh, good. Grand.
Monkey contingencies.
Well, I suppose that's us done for the day, hey?
Indeed. We have burned through this night.
Yeah, we have indeed. Shall we say goodbye to our lovely audience?
Indeed. Bye-bye, audience.
See you next time.